Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Tuesday. Your Tuesday is going well. If you're in the capital city area down here in South Louisiana, and you hadn't been paying attention to forecasts, or you got a lot on your plate and you just kind of came up for air, it's supposed to be pretty nasty around here over the coming hours. So if you don't have to be out and about, just hang tight. Wind forecasts, 40, 50 miles an hour, potential power outages as the front kind of blows through here. So stay safe out there on this Tuesday. We'll be with you until 3 o'clock. I'll preview Arkansas, LSU, and the Hogs tonight at 6 o'clock. I'll talk about it at 1:15 here shortly. Glenn West, Go 247, going to talk some basketball as well as a little bit of baseball with Glenn as he was at the First Pitch Banquet on Sunday night. So we'll chat about that with Glenn. And then Andrew Hutchison, our friend from up in Northwest Arkansas, will join us to talk about the Hogs. I do want to preview the basketball game tonight with him as well, but they've got some new coordinators up in Fayetteville as well, and baseball season right around the corner. So we'll hit on all three sports as we kind of have with most of the beat writers we've chatted with during this basketball season, because quite frankly, you dive too deep into these basketball games and I might put some of you Tigers to sleep because it's just not going so hot right now on the hardwood for LSU. But I'll give you a thumbnail on it coming up here in 15 minutes. I wanted to start the show today a little bit different direction than we've been going recently. By now, you know that Bill O'Brien, Alabama offensive coordinator, is headed up to New England to be the Patriots' new offensive coordinator. You know that Pete Golding, their defensive coordinator, moved along to Oxford, Mississippi, and Nick Saban's going to be replacing both coordinators in Tuscaloosa. I don't really have any interest in talking about that right now, but it did make me think, what about this LSU staff? Now, I personally am a homebody. I'm not very venturesome. I'm not very cultured. I don't have grandiose thoughts of seeing the world and experiencing other cultures. I like it in South Louisiana. I'm pretty good down here. Like the weather. Like being close to LSU. My family's here. I'm good. Have no interest in moving to Houston or moving to New York or seeing the West Coast. That's not me. I moved down here. I lived for 18 years in Shreveport, and then I moved down here for college at 18, and I've never left. I briefly stayed at my aunt and uncle's in New Orleans during the week, but still had residence in Baton Rouge. That's the way that I'm wired. Coaches can't be that way. That profession churns them in and churns them out. You're moving all over the place all the time. I'm fascinated sometimes when I talk with some of these coaches during the football season, when I go up there for that midweek interview that we record for the pregame show, and usually I try to get in and out of there in 5 minutes and let them get back to watching tape or calling recruits or whatever it is that they're doing. They're busy people, and I don't need to be in there talking. But sometimes I get pulled in, and they just want to chat for a bit, which is fine, and I'm happy to do so, and sometimes I pull some interesting nuggets out of it. I'm talking to Jake Peets, who's got 4 or 5 kids. He's got a lot of kids, maybe 6. I'm not sure how many. He's got a lot. And he was going to move 3 places in 3 years with 6 kids. I don't want to move ever. Ever. Moving is awful. And he's doing it constantly. But that's the life you sign up for. And a lot of times it pays pretty well. But it requires a lot of upheaval. And that's just part of the gig. And so it's not always good or bad when people move or stay put. Nick Saban runs through coordinators by the year over there. They seem to do okay. But sometimes a little stability is a good thing. And LSU's had none over the last 3 years. You win the national championship in 19. Joe Brady's going to leave to go be the offensive coordinator at the Panthers. Dave Aranda's going to take the head coaching job at Baylor. Okay, we got to figure something out here. When comes Bo Pelini? And eventually Steve Ensminger retires. So you got to figure out something on that front. Can't really find anybody, so you bring in Jake Peets to do it, and Bo Pelini is let go and don't want to deal with that. So all of a sudden, when you took the field against Florida State this year, LSU was on their 4th defensive coordinator in 4 years. 4th in 4 years. That's hard to deal with. Learning a new offensive system can be tough. LSU's doing it with Brady coming in, and then Ainsminger moves on, trying to deal with Peets, and he moves on, and now you bring in Denbrock, and you got to deal with that, and you get a new quarterback coming in, and LSU just needed some stability. So you bring in Brian Kelly, and he puts together a staff. And he goes out and decides Mike Denbrock's going to be his guy on the offensive coordinator spot. In terms of putting the roster together, we got to put a staff of people that can handle recruiting. So he goes and gets Brian Polian, who he trusts to help be the recruiting coordinator. He immediately goes and gets Frank Wilson to come in and coach running backs. Kerry Cooks at safety. Robert Steeples at cornerback. Jamar Kane on the defensive line. Cortez Hankton over from the national champion Georgia program at wide receiver. He decides to keep Brad Davis around at offensive line. Joe Sloan's going to coach the quarterbacks. Going to bring in Jake Flint to be the director of athletic development, strength coach in layman's terms. And that's going to be the staff that he puts together. Finally, at the end, Matt House comes in to be defensive coordinator. And to wait for the Chiefs to finish their season. And you look at this and you see the pros and cons, and you understand that most of the time when you hire a staff, you feel pretty good about it. Most of the time you don't hire the guy who just went 1-13. You don't usually hire the guy who was run out of town his last job. You usually hire somebody on the up and up or a very established name, especially if you're Brian Kelly and you've got as many skins on the wall as he does. And that's what you had with this staff. They had Louisiana ties. There were elite recruiters. There were proven play callers on both sides of the ball. It was a staff that seemed to make a lot of sense. And then you look at what LSU was this year offensively and defensively. And you look at the Florida State game where they couldn't get anything going offensively in the first half. Mississippi State game couldn't get anything going offensively in the first half. But they started cooking a little bit in the second half of both of those games. Look at Florida later on in the season. 6 straight touchdown drives. They go right down the field and score. LSU's offense got markedly better as the season went on. Maybe a step back at Arkansas. A&M wasn't perfect. Georgia's a tough matchup. Okay, it wasn't perfect, but I could certainly make the claim that offense got better as the season went on. And on defense, great against Florida State most of the second half. Phenomenal against Mississippi State in the second half. Phenomenal against Ole Miss in the second half. Shut them out. Great work against Alabama. All the weapons that they've got and Heisman Trophy quarterback. That defense was tough and made some significant strides in second halves of games once they figured things out. And I say all this to tell you that I think LSU was well coached this past year. You know that's not exactly my corner of the store. X's and O's, adjustments, attacking offenses, attacking defenses, creating mismatches. That's not where I do most of my talking here on the football side of things. I bring on guests for that. I can bring up stats. I can tell you what things look like. I can certainly tell you, hey, Ole Miss didn't score in the second half. I think they did a pretty good job after they got down 17-0. I thought the coaching staff did a good job. And what did I start the segment saying? Stability is what they needed. Well, you look up as the college football coaching carousel has slowed down dramatically. And, you know, there are opportunities in the NFL, but I don't see a ton of guys in this list outside of Matt House, Brian Polian, that have done a lot in the NFL. Robert Steeples was in the NFL at one point, but went to high school and then to college. So it's a staff that's all coming back right now. And would it shock me if somebody off this staff got another opportunity in the next 3 weeks? No, it would not. I'm not here to tell you that 100% certain when they go to Florida State and Orlando that this is the exact staff, but it could be. It could be. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered for this program that has just, since they got off the stage in New Orleans after the national championship game, been peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, unrest, it was just a mess at times with all the ins and outs. Whew. Now it just feels like, okay, we got our feet on the ground. And assistant coaches don't stay very long, so I don't expect everybody to be back certainly the next year. But right now, the way things look is that LSU is on very stable footing, and that's exactly what you make the offer to Brian Kelly for. Has he won national championships at the college level? No. But he's been close. And he has done a great job of assembling staffs wherever he's been. And that seems to be the case right now with this staff. I mean, I feel like if you're an LSU fan and you're listening to me right now and you see what you saw on the field this past year, you see what they've done in recruiting, and you look at what next year looks like, you feel pretty good about where this coaching staff is. And sometimes over the last 3 years, that has not been the case. Stability is such a good thing. And look, there are examples to the contrary. Arkansas won 9 games 2 years ago, however you want to characterize the 2021 season. But they were coming into this past fall with their coordinators back, one of a handful of teams in the Power 5 that had their their assistants, their coordinators back the third year in a row. And they weren't very good last year. So it's not a foolproof thing, but I think it's more good than bad. And then again, on the flip side, Saban churns them in and out. But they seem to be okay. But I just like where LSU sits right now from a coaching perspective. I think the staff did a really good job last year, and it looks like nearly all of it, if not every single bit of it, is coming back. And that is very, very good for LSU. A little football for you. I know you crave it at times. We'll throw that out at you. LSU and Arkansas playing tonight in Bud Walton at 6 o'clock. I'll give you some thoughts on the Hogs coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Love telling you about the service department at Bayou Ford because convenience is king over there at Bayou Ford. I know that getting the car serviced is not something that we love to do, but you have to. It's one of the bigger investments that we make in our vehicle. You got to take care of it because you're going to need it. So instead of driving in the morning and sitting in a waiting room and scrolling through your phone and waiting for your car to get serviced, and then they got to find the part, and then they may have to order the part, and it may not be here till tomorrow, and all of a sudden you've wasted a whole morning or half your day or the entire day, that's no good. That's why Bayou Ford has got 6 full-time drivers there to help you out. You call them, say, hey, we need to service this vehicle. They'll bring you a loaner. You get the kids to school. You get on with your day. You get to work. They take your car back to the dealership. They perform that service. When it's done, if that's that day, maybe it's the next day, they will bring your car right back to you. They'll take the loaner. You haven't missed a beat. Convenience is king with Bayou Ford on the service side. As far as the inventory goes, it's all there at BayouFord.com. Go check it out. Give it a look. If it doesn't have exactly what you want, they can customize a vehicle for you. All of them come with a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. Bayou Ford, BayouFord.com is the website. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
On Wednesday's OTB, did the Pelicans manage to finally get back on the right track? Did Brandon Ingram return on the first night of back-to-back? We will see. Plus, let's talk conference championship as the NFL Final Four set off the bench 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, Tigers and Hogs tonight, 6 o'clock from Bud Walton. It appears that there is a massive snowstorm blowing through up there, so much so that they had to issue a statement on the game saying, hey, we are going to play. Andrew Hutchinson's going to join us in about 45 minutes. We'll get a weather update from up there, see how things are going. But things have not been going so hot for the Hogs here of late. They are 2-5 in league play, 13-6 overall. This is the top 5 team in the preseason. Obviously, we understand the last time LSU won a basketball game, the Hogs were here in town. Well, how'd that happen? Well, it was basically because LSU played that game to a script. We talked about it on the show before that game, that LSU was going to have to kind of turn into a tractor pull, try to force Arkansas, a very poor three-point shooting team, to shoot a lot of threes. And they did. Arkansas shot 25 of them. They were averaging shooting about 15 at that point, and they made 4 of those 25 threes. They were just brutal from beyond the arc in that game. You remember Trey Hannibal kind of took over late in the game, kept getting to the rim and finishing layups. He finished with 19 points to lead LSU. He's 9 of 14 from the floor. Thought LSU did a really good job in that game of taking care of the ball as well against a long, athletic, rangy Arkansas defense that can force you into some trouble. And LSU only turned it over 10 times in the game. Those only led to 4 Razorback points. Tennessee had 33 points off turnovers against LSU on Saturday. Arkansas had 4. You force them into the half court, they're just not a very good shooting team. And for that reason, Arkansas scored 19 points in the first half of that game. LSU would go on to win the game by a final score of 57-60. Arkansas had a three-pointer in the air to tie it late. It did not go down. So LSU will get Arkansas again. I don't think it'll be an electric crowd in the Bud. You're catching a break there. The snow is going to scare some people off. It just appears it's not like, oh, it's snowing a little bit. Like, this is a big-time snow up in Fayetteville. So you couple a 2-5 start, a team that's really struggling to get it out of neutral, a team that's really struggling to score, an LSU team that's not going to excite anybody on a Tuesday night, and some significant weather issues. I don't think the crowd is going to be awesome in Bud Walton tonight. So we'll see how that impacts the game. Arkansas is basically what they were last time that LSU saw them. I'll kind of give you a refresher here on the Hogs before I get into some stats that deal with LSU's offense that are really tough to read. But Arkansas is what they were. 51st in the country in possessions per game, so fairly fast-paced team. They are 360th in the nation in percent of points from 3. Denver, the university presumably, not the city, Denver, Long Beach State, and Tarleton State are the only 3 teams in the nation who get less of their points percentage-wise from the three-point line than Arkansas. Denver, Long Beach State, and Tarleton State. But the Hogs are 17th in the country in percent of their points from 2, and they'll defend you. They're 22nd in the country in defensive efficiency. So Muss is trying to find a way to score some points with this team. Anthony Black's our starting point guard. He was a 5-star recruit, top 20 player in the country, 6'7", really athletic, pretty quick. He has shot the ball horribly this year. I don't really have another way to put it. In conference play, he's shooting 19% from three, and he's 65% from the free throw line. He's a great prospect because of his length and range, but he just isn't scoring. 13 points per game, basically coming from driving. I like the addition that Joseph Pinion has been to this team. He doesn't play a ton. He's only averaging about 11 minutes per game, but that's going up a little bit because he can shoot. He's shooting 43% from three in SEC play. He's 7 of 16. That may be a guy to watch. If you're LSU, they may play him more. They may let him shoot some more threes. Ricky Council's led him in scoring all year, 15 points per game, 27% from three, not very good, but he's a long wing that can get to the rim and finish. Devo Davis is kind of their heartbeat. He's a really emotional player, long, wiry, rangy player. Threw in some threes against LSU. Hasn't really been his game, but he's 33% from three this year, scoring 14 a game in conference play. So they've got some size, but they really struggle to score, and that's been their biggest problem thus far this year. But LSU, we know, has struggled just as mightily to score. And I'm looking at some of the statistics, and I know that Matt McMahon's doing a lot of the same because Matt McMahon is saying in his press conferences, post-game, midweek, whenever, we got to find a way to be more efficient scoring. And it's hard to find it. KJ Williams has done a pretty good job even by the statistics. And these are all SEC numbers. He's shooting 44% from the floor, 36% from three, which is okay. 13 of 36. It's better than any of LSU's other options in terms of efficiency. He's scoring 50 in a game in league play. That's fine. Adam Miller, you all know that he's struggled at times to shoot the three. He's 33% from the three-point line in SEC play. If you run through the games, he was 5 of 13 from three against Kentucky, 5 of 8 against A&M. Those are really good numbers. The rest of them, well, besides Bama, which no one was watching, he was 2 for 2. Nobody even saw that. So 1 of 8 against Auburn, 0 of 3 against Tennessee. So 1 for 11 in his last 2 games, 33% from the three-point line. But if you can imagine this, you've probably seen it, but I didn't realize it was this bad. Adam Miller in SEC play from 2-point range is 4 of 22. He's shooting 18% from 2-point range. We went through the Juice Hill numbers. Obviously, he's not out there now, but he wasn't finishing from 2-point range. You don't have anybody on the roster who's shown they can take the ball and get to the rim and finish, except Hannibal at times. But Hannibal is incapable of even attempting a three, so it's very difficult to drive when they don't have to go guard you. This is the conundrum that Matt McMahon is on. Okay, KJ can finish from 2 and he can shoot some threes. That's good. That's a start. Where else do we go? Well, Trey can't shoot threes, so his driving is being limited. Adam is having trouble shooting threes, so maybe we want to attack more. Well, he can't finish when he's attacking. He's 18% from 2-point range in league play. So where do we go next? Okay, Cam Hayes is back. He's feeling a little bit more healthy. Can he help? Again, he was not a very efficient player at NC State, but maybe he can be here. He's 9 of 17 from 2. At least that's better than 15% in league play. He's only 26% from 3. So he's not giving you super efficient shots. Now, Derek Fountain is 15 of 32 from 2. That's a tick under 50%. Is it wildly efficient? No. A lot of bigs that don't shoot threes and shoot a lot around the rim can, shoot 59, 62% from 2-point range or from the floor. But maybe get the ball to Williams and Fountain around the elbows and see if they can attack. Maybe they can draw some contact. Maybe they can finish around the rim. I've been saying for the last 2 weeks, okay, maybe shoot some more threes because you're a little bit more efficient there. Well, Miller's 1 for his last 11 from 3. I would love to sit here and tell you that, hey, Coach McMahon, you've got these guys, you've had them for a couple of months. Draw something up and get some better looks. They're so compromised at so many places that defenses can play them in a way that makes it really tough to get good looks, especially defenses as well coached and as athletic as they are in this league. So I don't have a great answer, to be quite honest. I want KJ to keep touching the ball as often as possible. I'll take his shots around the rim. I'll take his shots in the mid-range. I'll take his shots from three. He's the best you got by a long shot. I wouldn't mind getting Fountain more touches, not on the perimeter, but closer to the basket, at the elbow, at the block. Maybe those are a little bit more helpful. And then Cam Hayes has got to get a little bit more involved, because I do think we saw this in November, which doesn't matter very much. I know, excuse me, when you're playing UNO, when you're playing Winthrop or whoever, it's not the same as playing Arkansas or Mississippi State. But he's got some ability to make some shots. We're going to have to put some up. Truth be told, if LSU's going to win games in the league against teams not named like South Carolina and Ole Miss, they're going to have to win them in the 50s. It can be done. Mississippi State's playing games in the 50s. A&M has played some games in the 50s. Florida's played some games in the 50s. Arkansas's played some games in the 50s. It's not like everybody that scores in the 50s is awful. Like, some of the teams are winning some games right around 60 points. That's what it's going to take from LSU. And you're capable of doing that against an Arkansas team that really struggles on offense, especially if it's kind of an empty crowd. But you're going to have to hope they don't make shots. And that's what I keep going back to. I think some of you that are still watching this team with some level of intensity, I realize that there are a number of people that are not following this team with the intensity level that you would love to follow a team late in January in college basketball, the way we had the last 5 years. They get beat by 20 a few times in a row. It gets tougher to invest emotionally. But if you're like me and you're still, look, they throw it up there and they got the purple and gold jerseys on, I'm going to care. And it's just backbreaking when another team makes like 2 shots in a row. How are we going to respond to this? But Arkansas can go through some cold streaks. They certainly did in the PMAC, and they certainly have in a number of their games this year. So hopefully LSU finds a night where they hit some shots, and maybe you get Fountain and Hayes more involved. That's my throw it against the wall and see if it sticks moment for today's show. That'll be what I'm kind of looking for. Games tonight at 6 o'clock up at the Bud. If you want to listen to it because you're out and about in Baton Rouge, Eagle 98.1, our sister station, will have pregame at 5:30, and you will have Chris Blair and John Brady on the pregame, and then they'll have tip-off from the Bud at 6 o'clock. All right, we'll talk a little bit of basketball, maybe a little bit of baseball with Glenn West of Go 247 coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. Love telling you about One Bath and Closets. Sometimes home improvement projects, renovations can be a pain because you've got to deal with so many different contractors. Not with One Bath and Closets. One company, one contractor, One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team have been doing it for 30 years, and they will do it for you. If you're looking for the bathroom of your dreams, let David Duvall make it happen for you. They can do a full-scale renovation. They're licensed contractors, or they can do a tub-to-shower conversion that's pretty simple, very quick, very affordable, and it can change the entire way that your bathroom functions. What about your closet? There's so much clutter in so much of our lives these days. Our closet's generally no exception. You got clothes all over the place, shoes all over the place, suits, you're cramming things in. Maybe you need some more space. Let David Duvall and his team come and help you out with that. Starts with just a simple questionnaire, and it finishes with a customized solution for your closet. Tell them that we sent you. Say, look, I heard about you on 104.5 ESPN on the Hunt Palmer Show. David Duvall, say, awesome. And I'm not going to charge you to rip out this unit. I'm not going to charge you for the installation of the new one. You're just going to pay for the unit that you purchase. That's the deal that they're giving our customers here at 104.5 ESPN. One Bath and Closets. The website is onebathandclosets.com. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets. Find them at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Moon Griffon is back, the voice of Louisiana politics.
Championship Sunday in the NFL playoffs. Tune in Sunday at 2 p.m. when the Eagles host the 49ers for the NFC Championship. Then the Chiefs host the Bengals at 5:30 for the AFC Championship. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It is Tuesday. That means it's time to head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our friend from Go247, Glenn West. Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
Doing very well. We had a little back and forth there on Twitter, but that was a pretty impressive showing on Sunday night over at the Crown Plaza. More than 1,000 people packed in for the first pitch banquet. That was the first time that you had been. Your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time I had gone there and just super impressed. I mean, I think you could really tell the genuine excitement that's around this team kind of heading into next year. And I think this is going to be a really special season. You know, you had a lot of former players, and we saw Alex Bregman, Kevin Gosman, Mikey Matuk, a lot of the Antoine Duplantis. We saw Antoine and shook his hand, and just really impressed with, you know, the turnout there. And I mean, I showed up right around 5:45 and didn't really have a parking spot. I had to drive around and really find a parking spot in a pretty crowded parking lot. And that just shows you the genuine excitement that I think is around this team. And, you know, I know that just based off the conversations that I've had with Coach Johnson and with a lot of the people in that program, that they aren't letting this preseason hype get to their head. They're putting in a lot of work this offseason, and I think it's going to pay off.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, and Jay kind of talked about it when he addressed the crowd, and I spoke about it yesterday on this show, saying that it's a little bit different, that I think even more so than Tennessee last year, because they kind of got off to that hot start, and you're like, oh, man, this could be really something special. It's already happening in January, so at least to an extent they can kind of get out in front of it and go, hey, yeah, everybody thinks you're good. You hadn't really proven anything. So what have you taken from those discussions in terms of what they're doing to try to get these 18 to 22-year-olds to maybe temper their expectation and understand how much work it's going to take?
Well, I think a lot of it was built in the foundation of year one. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. That was a team that had, you know, hype coming into the season, maybe not to this level, but a lot of those guys are back and kind of were a part of that first year in Baton Rouge and know what this coaching staff is going to, expect out of the players on a daily basis in terms of their preparation and work ethic. So, I think having those guys return and, the Dylan Cruzes of the world, the Trey Morgans, we talked with Jay back in the fall, and he says those two guys in particular have really stepped up as leaders, as vocal leaders, as guys who can kind of fuel the ship in the right direction. And that's just stuff that you can always build on in year two. And I think that, when you see, younger guys watching those older guys put in that work and, go to batting cages at 9:30 at night and getting in the extra work, it makes you want to do it too. And I think that's a big part of how they built this program in the year plus that Jay's been here. And that's how they're going to continue to grow as kind of the foundation and pillars of their program.
Media Day is going to be Friday. I don't know how many Pulmonary Media Days you got to attend, if any, but they were my favorite because he would go through the entire roster, take like 45 minutes, and I just eat it all up because I'm addicted to that kind of stuff. But I don't think Jay will do all of that. But what do you anticipate hearing from Jay, or what question will you have for Jay coming up on Friday before they really get into practice?
Yeah, so I think the biggest question, I'm not going to bury the lead here by saying, just what the pitching rotation is going to look like in terms of the weekend. I think that'll probably be if Michael Cobble or somebody doesn't gobble it up first, that'll probably be one of the things that I get a chance to ask him. But I'm super excited about this pitching staff in particular. Paul Skeens and Thatcher Hurd, Ty Floyd, Grant Taylor, Christian Little. Floyd and Taylor are guys that we've heard have made some really great strides in their pitching over the off season as returners, and then dipping into the portal for those really stout transfers has been really impressive, and I think a big reason why LSU's viewed so highly. So I'll be really interested to see what the progress has been made with him and with Wes Johnson and the pitching staff, and just how all those guys are coming along. And I would say probably in terms of the field, the one question that I think is kind of out there is what happens at second base. I think they have a lot of options between Gavin Dugas and Ben Nippel, the transfer from TCU, and also the Jack Merrifield, who was a JUCO guy last year for him and has a lot of experience playing second as well. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of all comes to form.
A lot of optimism. So let's switch over to basketball. I want to level things out a little bit. Look, if I've tried on the show to kind of give some thoughts on what they could possibly do, not necessarily from an X and O's perspective, but just statistically speaking, from in terms of minutes or shots taken or where on the floor they're taking shots from. How would you suggest they get a little bit more offense going?
I wish I had a clear, concise answer for you, but I do know that they have a blueprint in terms of being able to compete with Arkansas. Maybe we could start there.
Yeah.
They had 40 points in the paint against Arkansas in their first meeting, so that would be nice to have kind of replicated in that road environment, being able to score a little bit more efficiently at the rim. But you and I talked last week about it. We thought they needed to take more threes and really spread out the half court offense, and didn't really work, at least for the first half. I thought the second half, when that game was decided already over the weekend, they started to get some cleaner looks at the rim and some open looks from three. But there's just this has not been a very good offense in the last 3 weeks of the season, and I think Matt McMahon knows that. And I think you just got to keep throwing darts and hoping something sticks, and then if something sticks, you got to just kind of run with it, because there really doesn't seem to be a whole lot of great options out there right now.
I asked you this last week, but as press conferences roll through, maybe perspective changes a little bit, and certainly as losses pile up. But how do you think the players are responding to this skid right now?
Yeah, it's tough. We had KJ and Trey Hannibal in the game, in the post game after the game on Saturday, and KJ, his head is down. I think he's a guy that really wants to win. He values winning at a high level, and they just haven't been able to do it recently. And I think you can certainly see this as a team that's low on confidence right now. They need some stuff to start to break their way, and I think that's what better start than to go against a team that you've already beaten in conference play and in their environment. If you can just start to show signs of being a little bit more competitive, then I think you can get your message across to the players a little bit better. And so I just think that they need to have just a good performance. I mean, they're just lacking in that just really solid all-around effort and performance. And I think if you can do that, you can start to put the building blocks back together to try to build this thing back up.
Chatting with Glenn West of Go247, as we do each and every Tuesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I did an open on my show today talking about the stability in the football coaching staff and how they haven't had any turnover to this point after year one, after 3 years of nothing but turnover. How surprised are you that Brian Kelly's entire staff is intact?
Yeah, I mean, outside of a few analysts and recruiting staff members, they're very much intact, and I think that's extremely important when you consider continuity on the roster and those players, kind of building that rapport with the coaches. I think I hate to throw the 2019 out into the world again, but there was also relative, continuity coming back from that 2019 and 2018 team as well. I mean, they brought in Joe Brady, but a lot of the same offensive staff was there. They had a lot of defensive coaches that were still there. So I just think it always helps when you have that familiarity coming back with the program, and I think it speaks to Brian Kelly's ability to be able to construct and develop a program to be able to have some of those coaches stick around a couple of years. I think there are going to be a lot of coaches on this program that are going to be hot commodities in the years to come. So keeping this staff together as long as possible, I think, is really, really impressive for Coach Kelly.
I know y'all follow recruiting and transfers and all that over at Go247. Do you expect, not asking for names unless you have them, but do you expect an addition or two more from the transfer portal? You think they're kind of settled right now?
I would imagine they're pretty settled right now. I mean, maybe you would look at safety as an area where they could use another veteran voice. But, I think that they've filled in a lot of the holes they had kind of coming into the off season and really built up the secondary well. Anything can happen after the spring, so I think that's probably where you're looking at maybe another couple of additions coming if some players leave after the spring, or if there's some unexpected turnover you don't expect after the spring session. So I would venture to guess that they're pretty much done until the spring, but you never really know in this age. I mean, now that guys are in the portal, the recruiting never stops, and so you certainly want to keep on and see which guys you really want to attack after the spring.
All right, Glenn, appreciate your time, man.
All right, no, thanks.
Glenn West, Go247. It's our senior writer over there. Appreciate him joining us each and every Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesdays, sports trivia tonight, Pluckers. So we'll be out there for an 8:30 start, probably right about the time that LSU finishes up. So you can either watch LSU and then sprint over to Pluckers, or go watch the second half of LSU and Arkansas over at Pluckers on Nicholson. And we'll crank things up at 8:30 for some sports trivia. 5 rounds, live action sports trivia. You can win Pluckers gift cards, cold drinks out there, delicious food. We always have a good time on Tuesday. So grab a team and then head on out to the Pluckers, and let's have some fun tonight on Tuesday for sports trivia, as we do each and every week. We'll come back. We've been doing some anniversaries over the last 3 weeks or so. As one pops up on my Twitter feed here or there. We got another one to get to coming up in the next segment to close out hour number 1. And hour number 2, we're going to have Andrew Hutchison from Best in Northwest Arkansas Sports. We'll talk about the Hogs and a little football with them as well. MLB Hall of Fame, Sharif Ishak talking Pels and a little bit of Saints. Lots to get to here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, and because they're Louisiana loyal, they want to elevate and celebrate Champions of Louisiana. Champions of Louisiana could be a person, could be a nonprofit, a company that does awesome things in our state. And all month long, we've been telling you about Hunters for the Hungry. They started up in 1994, founded by a group of local hunters. And through now, they've partnered with 5 major food banks throughout the state of Louisiana to help feed those in need because of the massive amount of hunting and fishing that goes on in our great state. Right now, there are over 900,000 resident hunters and anglers in the state that contribute to the sportsman's industry that supports nearly 24,000 jobs and an economic impact of over $1.6 billion. And Hunters for the Hungry helps take that portion of our economy and that part of our lifestyle to do great work, and that makes them a champion of Louisiana. If you know Champions of Louisiana, go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate a nonprofit or a person or a company that's doing awesome work so that we can tell their story here That's what LWCC wants us to do. LWCC is Louisiana loyal. Again, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like hunters for the hungry.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Have you ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. The Pels and Tigers are both back on the hardwood. We'll preview the action, and we'll keep counting you down to the NFC and AFC championship games. It's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Over the last 3 weeks, as we close out hour number one here, over the last 3 weeks, we've been doing some anniversaries. We did LSU Oklahoma, the national championship back in January of 2004. Did the 2019-2020 January national championship game against Clemson. Unfortunately, last week I gave you the Nolan no call. I apologize for that, but the call of that was incredible, and I think it plays okay on radio, even though it brings back horrible memories. So I felt like I might owe a little bit of retribution for maybe wrecking somebody's early afternoon there with a Nolan no call. So we'll have another anniversary today. Got to go back 13 years ago. Seems like a long time, but I think when you hear the sound, probably won't feel like it was that long ago.
There have been a lot of them. Saints fans don't want to see another. Snap, placement, kick by Hartley, and it is good! It's good! It's good! Pigs have flown!
could kind of tell by his body language out there on the field that he felt like, I think I've got this thing done. Now you're going to Miami. Is there a city anywhere in America that deserves this more than the New Orleans Saints?
13 years ago today, Garrett Hartley sent the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl, beating the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship game. Huge interception of Brett Favre late in regulation. Let Ryan Longwell out there to break the Saints' heart one more time, and Saints got into range in overtime, and Hartley banged it through. You could hear the jubilation, one in the crowd, but two in Jim Henderson. And as someone who grew up in a household that despised the New Orleans Saints, I still always loved Jim Henderson and Hokie Gajan on the calls. That's what the Saints sound like in my head. They've had a couple of play-by-play guys since Jim retired, and they've had Deuce in there since Hokie moved on, and God rest his soul as he passed away. But just, they were an awesome duo. You had Henderson, who was the polished orator who would deliver the emotion and the play-by-play brilliantly. And then you had Hokie, who was from here and played at LSU and loved the Saints and would give you the emotion and quite frankly, the accent. And it just worked. And that call was perfect. I think the pigs have flown that Jim delivered there may be a tad cliche-ish, but it's kind of what it felt like, because there was a time where it seemed like the Saints going to the Super Bowl was about as likely as pigs flying. And you could hear the jubilation and the relief in Jim. Sometimes there's just exuberance and jubilation and delirium in a call, like Jim Hawthorne's Warren Morris call, where he just, I can't believe it. Just absolutely going nuts. Jim, it sounds like, I've never seen video of him make that call, he like leaned back in his chair and just, pigs have flown. It's like, we did it. We finally got there. And, you know, for so many Saints fans, what an incredible day and night that was. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, what happened to me during the end of that game. I was watching at my buddy's house. We were off Highland Road. And there was a timeout before they sent Hartley out. So I thought, I'll just go to the bathroom real quick and come back. Well, as I'm going to the bathroom, number one, I just hear all my friends just go nuts. I missed the Hartley kick down the hall using the bathroom. So if there's any question whether or not I'm truly a closeted Saints fan, I think the fact that I was not even watching the television when Garrett Hartley knocked it through the uprights, that should certainly knock me down a few pegs. But we all know that a couple weeks later, the Saints went down to Miami, took care of business, and we're Super Bowl champions. But, you know, for even my age, when that happens in 2009, like into 2010, I'm about to turn 22. So I'm pretty young. Yeah, I've got 15 years of history on the Saints being awful, but I didn't have the 30, 40 years that so many had leading up to that. And that's what makes it so much sweeter. Not that I was a lot older with the Cubs, but it was pretty feudal with the Cubs for most of my life, and they got it done. So in that way, I can relate a little bit to what Saints fans felt that day. But to those that are even older, I think just meant so much more. And what an incredible night. And another reason why they shouldn't pull these conference title games out of home stadiums. I mean, you can't even put a price tag on what the Saints fans who were in the Dome that night in overtime as Garrett Hartley knocks a field goal through to send the Saints to the Super Bowl were feeling. And if you play that game in Santa Clara or Arizona or Kansas City, it's just not the same. But once again, dollar signs will generally win. So they didn't that night. The Saints won that night, and it was a hell of a night 13 years ago. That'll do it for hour number one. If you missed any of it, you can always catch it on demand, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and, of course, 1045ESPN.com. Opened up talking about LSU's stability on the football staff, then a little preview of the Arkansas Razorbacks from me. Glenn West of Go247 with us to talk all things baseball, basketball, and football. In the second hour, we'll talk to Sharif Ishak on the Saints and the Pels. And get a little reaction to him on that night in the Dome. Got some SEC basketball to get ready for tonight. MLB Hall of Fame, and Andrew Hutchison will join us to talk Razorbacks right after SportsCenter. Come back with us on Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Before we begin any electrical work here, we perform a home safety check that begins at your electrical panel to make sure that you and your family are safe. For all your upgrades, installations, and repairs, call Mr. Electric.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. 49ers defensive lineman Charles Omenihu, a key member of the team's D-line, was arrested yesterday after a domestic violence allegation. The team said it is aware of the matter and is gathering more information. It's back to New England for Bill O'Brien, where his NFL career began in 2007 as a coaching assistant. ESPN's Adam Schefter and Chris Lowe reporting he's returning to the Patriots to become their next offensive coordinator, a job he previously held with the organization. O'Brien and quarterback Mac Jones have an Alabama connection, and the QB will benefit from concepts O'Brien brings from the Crimson Tide, notes ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes.
That he can implement to make life easier for Mac Jones. I also think he can do a better job than Matt Patricia and Joe Judge of tailoring the Patriots offense to the players they have, getting back to some of the run concepts that they've had success with.
You heard Mina mention Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. They did fill the leading roles on the offensive staff in 2022, a season in which New England plummeted in key offensive categories.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday here in the capital city. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Head up now to Northwest Arkansas. That's where we'll find Andrew Hutchinson of Best of Arkansas Sports. Told me he tried to do this interview, but he might be buried in snow. So I guess we need an update on that. Andrew, are we still okay?
So far, so good. It looks like a mix that's coming down right now. I think the snow is really supposed to start hitting right around tip-off tonight.
Do we think that'll impact the crowd?
I think it will. They've already issued a statement saying that basically the game is still on, but they encourage fans to exercise caution. So I would expect it to not be as good of a crowd as it would be if it was great weather.
And if Arkansas was 5-2 instead of 2-5, how stunning has this start to conference play been? I understand the injuries have been what they've been, but this was a top 5 team preseason, and now you sit here 2-5 in the league.
Yeah, this was probably the most hyped team for Arkansas since the 94-95 season when they were the reigning national champions. So to say that they're 2-5 right now is a surprise would be an understatement. The injuries have been a factor in that, as you mentioned. You lose Trevin Brazile early in the season, non-conference play. That was a massive loss. And then Nick Smith has been in and out with a knee injury as well. He was the number 1 recruit in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. So 2 very, very massive injuries that have played a factor into it, but you still probably thought they'd be better than 2-5 even with those injuries.
What's been the major issue for this team as it's constituted now?
They've had a really hard time scoring the ball, which is kind of important in basketball, as you know. It's just been not pretty. I mean, Trevin Brazile, he's a 6'10" big guy, but he was also a really good shooter from the perimeter. You lose him. Nick Smith was obviously a very good perimeter shooter. You lose him. Outside of that, they really didn't have a lot of three-point threats. Guys had really struggled. I mean, Jordan Walsh was expected to shoot better than he was. Devo Davis maybe better than what he has. And Anthony Black as well. Joseph Pinion's another freshman that's a sharp shooter, but that's kind of his thing. He's kind of struggled defensively and kind of adjusting to the game. He's more of a developmental 4-star guy that doesn't, you're not expecting him to come in and be a one and done. So it's been a struggle offensively. Now, that said, they've been a lot better offensively the last few games. They seem to be kind of figuring it out. It's just a matter of also being good defensively and also taking care of the ball. When they can get shots on goal, as Eric Mosman likes to say, they've been pretty good the last few games, but turnovers were really costly in a loss against Missouri last week. And then they were able to limit them against a pretty bad Ole Miss team and get the job done this weekend with a win.
Mentioned Black and Walsh as 2 5-star freshmen as we were getting ready for the game in Baton Rouge with Arkansas. And so I think LSU fans are pretty familiar with those 2 guys who have not shot the ball very well at all in conference play. But you mentioned Pinion, who has and has played a little bit more of late. Is there something to kind of him creating a little bit of an Arkansas, a little bit of a spark because he can shoot the ball?
Yeah, I mean, and when he comes into the game, you can feel it in the arena. There's a little bit of electricity that goes through Bud Walton Arena when they see Joseph Pinion walk to the scorer's table because he is such a sharp shooter. He is deadly from the corner in particular. That was really kind of how – it was a really tight game the first half against Ole Miss, and then he comes in late in the half, knocks down back-to-back threes in the final 2 minutes, and that's really kind of when Arkansas started separating from the Rebels. So he does help. If he can just be decent on defense, stay in front of his man. If he can rebound, I think he grabbed 5 boards against Ole Miss. If he can do that, then that's huge for Arkansas because it really kind of creates spacing, kind of stretches out the defense, and it makes it a little bit harder to stick with that zone against Arkansas that caused them so much problems early on in SEC play.
I've heard some Musselman post-game press conferences where he seems, expectedly, he's a little frustrated with the way things have gone, especially offensively. How would you characterize his mood through the last 3-4 weeks?
That man is he's been going through it. I honestly kind of feel bad for him because he's such a competitive guy and so emotional. Everyone sees the moments where he rips his shirt off and celebrates the fans and stuff like that. But as high as those highs are, the lows are pretty low for Eric Musselman in terms of his emotions. He hates to lose, and so he's really. I'm sure probably not been pleasant to be around on a regular basis because he's been trying to figure this out, with all the injuries and stuff like that. So that's kind of how he's been. But I think if they could kind of turn it around, and he'll quickly get out of his little funk.
One on Saturday, and they should win the game tonight, quite frankly. But you put your prognosticating hat on here. You think this Arkansas team is an NCAA tournament team?
Well, can you tell me if Nick Smith Jr. is going to return or not?
I wouldn't feel great about that, but say he doesn't.
If he doesn't, I think they could still sneak in. I mean, if they've shown some signs of life in the last couple of games. I mean, I know one of them was a loss at Missouri. There were some controversial calls in that game, including one that the SEC has actually come out and apologized for in the final minute that really impacted the result of that game. But they've started to show some signs of life. And Eric Musselman teams, they do get off to slow starts in SEC play and turn around. I don't think they're going to have as dramatic of a turnaround this year without Nick Smith. But I think they're still capable of getting in the NCAA tournament, especially their non-conference play kind of put them in a decent spot, in terms of the net rankings. You couldn't say that about last year. So there's a little bit of a baseline kind of help right there. But yeah, they've still got work to do if they want to lock up an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament.
Chatting with Andrew Hutchison, best of Arkansas sports, covering the Razorbacks up there. Let's switch to football here briefly here, Andrew. Obviously, Arkansas entered this past season with their coordinators returning for the 3rd straight year. Now both have moved on. What's been the word up there in Fayetteville on those two spots?
Yeah, so they filled their entire coaching staff. In addition to losing Barry Odom and Kendall Briles, 2 coordinators, they also lost a couple other assistant coaches. Sam Pittman's had to replace half of his 10 assistant coaches this offseason. Just filled the final spot. Announced it maybe 30 minutes ago, the final hire. But the 2 coordinators they brought in are Travis Williams, a guy that played in the SEC, has co-defensive coordinator experience at Auburn, comes from UCF, so a pretty big school with some experience. And then the offensive coordinator, which is more recently, would be Dan Enos. That's probably a familiar name. Yep. He was here under Brett Bielema from 2015 to 2017. He was a solid offensive coordinator. I would characterize his hire as a safe hire for Sam Pittman. I don't think he's going to just completely bomb out, but I also maybe don't see it as like a super sexy, exciting hire that the fan base is going to rally around. But I think he's a very good offensive coordinator and knows how to use the weapons at his disposal. The 2015 offense that he had, with Brandon Allen at quarterback, Alex Collins at running back, Hunter Henry at tight end, lots of NFL guys on the offensive line. That was a very, very good offense. One of the better offenses in school history. with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders coming back, maybe they can capture lightning in a bottle once again.
I know a lot of defections in the portal from Arkansas on the football side, but they also brought in quite a few people. What do you think the expectation level is going to be when we come around to August?
I think the Arkansas fans are expecting a step forward. I mean, they went 6-6 this year, 7-6 if you include the bowl win. They want to see improvement, and I get it, because you do have KJ Jefferson back, you do have Rocket Sanders back. That's a really good core offensively. You brought in a new defensive coordinator that's supposed to be more aggressive. Maybe you can be better defensively than you were this year, because they really struggled on that side of the ball, especially stopping the pass. They've completely redone their secondary. I mean, they brought in a couple of starting defensive backs from Baylor, including one that was a second-team All-Big 12 performer this year. And so they've got guys, and they've got guys coming back. Dwight McLaughlin, that's a name that folks down there in Baton Rouge should recognize. Quincy McAdoo is going to be in his second year in the program, first full-time, full year on defense, because he came in as a wide receiver before converting mid-season to cornerback, and he still earned freshman All-SEC honors. So I think there's potential, and so I think there should be some expectation for improvement, but I don't know if anybody's thinking hey, they could win 10 games. Like there was, probably a decent section of the fan base thought that was possible this year.
Andrew, stay warm up there. We'll do it again before the Hogs come down here to play some baseball in March.
I'm looking forward to it. Talk to y'all then.
Sounds good. Andrew Hutchinson, best of Arkansas sports. Always appreciate his time down here talking all things Hogs. It's just been a disappointing go for Eric Musselman and this team right now. They just aren't playing very well, and I've been saying it for 2 weeks. I think they're an NIT team. They lose tonight, they'd go a long way towards locking that in. They win tonight, maybe start looking towards catching some momentum like his teams have done over the last couple of years, but it seems like it's just going to be tougher because they're low on numbers, and they just haven't gotten the offensive output they thought from some of these young players. So Tigers and Hogs tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll be talking about it coming up tomorrow as LSU tries to find a way to get a win. We'll see if they can do it. Sharif Ishak on the Saints and the Pels coming up in about 18 minutes. So when we come back, SEC basketball tonight. What other games are there? And then the Hall of Fame ballot is going to be released tonight. The new class in Major League Baseball. Let's go into the Hall. I've got a couple of thoughts on that as well.
This is on Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That sunshine.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, E-Tail, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience.
Join me, Jimmy Out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Dozy Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A little bit of breaking news here. So for those that turned the radio off when they heard I was going to talk SEC basketball and MLB Hall of Fame, well, we lost you. Apologies. But if you hung around, you're going to get LSU football talk here because there's just been an announcement made by LSU and an opponent for 2027. Labor Day weekend in Houston, Texas, LSU will take on Houston. Now, this has just been announced minutes ago, so I don't have any prepared thoughts on it. I'm adjusting to it on the fly, reacting to it on the fly as I hear it. Now, realize this is in 2027. So the world's going to be a very different place in college football by that point. You're going to have an expanded playoff. Houston's in the Big 12. So it's not exactly apples to apples with this past year or 10 years ago. In fact, it's very much not. Now, from an excitement level, this is not going to really do it for any LSU fans. Nobody gives a rip about playing Houston. Truth be told, Dana Holgorsen probably won't be the coach at Houston in 2027. There's no real way to know who they're going to be or what they're going to be that day. You've got a feeling that LSU will probably be on some pretty firm footing. Brian Kelly, in all likelihood, will be the coach then, and LSU will probably have a pretty good program. That's pretty fair to assume. Houston could be nice and strong like they were for a couple of years under Tom Herman. They could bottom out and have just fired Holgorsen off a winless season. I don't know what they're going to be. My take on some of these games has been a little bit different from some others. If you listen to Charles Handegriff talk, he wants on-campus games with big-time opponents. And I totally get that. The season ticket holders deserve those type of games. They create unbelievable excitement in Tiger Stadium. And when you take care of your business and beat Virginia Tech by 1 million, that's incredible. I do always pump my brakes because If Virginia Tech doesn't schedule that game with LSU in 2007, they play for the national championship. If instead of LSU they schedule William and Mary and win it 73-10, they play for the national championship. I'm about winning national championships. And so that's the way I approach the schedule. LSU this past season, had they not put Florida State on the schedule, would have been in the college football playoff pre the A&M game. And maybe if you don't play Florida State and instead you play Rice, you've got an opportunity to drop a game, beat Georgia, and get in with 2 losses. I don't know. The point I'm saying is I'm leery of adding potential losses to the schedule, even when everyone gets super fired up to play Oklahoma or to play Florida State or to play Southern Cal. Yes, those games are really fun, but I'm going to sit back and not think about the game day environment and all that kind of stuff and think about, oh, could we cost ourselves a shot at a championship? That's the way I'm wired to look at this thing. I love it when LSU baseball plays in that Houston tournament and plays elite teams. I love great non-conference baseball games, even though we don't see them very often. I'd be all for LSU going to Fall Gown Fieldhouse, and if you get beat by 40, it doesn't even matter. You lose a football game, it matters. So there's part of me that looks at this and goes, well, we're playing a Big 12 team, and we're going to beat them. So that's okay. Yeah, it's more fun to go beat Texas. That's great in 2019. Awesome. But if you have to win it for it to be awesome. You could lose it. The other part of this, now that we go into the new world, is losing a game with a 12-team playoff isn't going to hurt you as bad. So I'm more likely to throw Penn State on the schedule or Michigan on the schedule. A lot of factors. I realize I'm grabbing at every single angle at this, but I'm doing so to come around to the fact that here's my take on the LSU-Houston game. It's not exciting. I wish they wouldn't play it, but it's going to be a game they win. It's going to give the Houston alumni base a chance to go and see a game in their hometown. And if we need to go recruit the city of Houston over the next 4 years and promise you get a game in your hometown, fine. Is that a hot enough take for you? I think you'll probably hear Charlie come on tomorrow and say that it's a stupid game to play. My guess is that you'll hear Matt Moscona on his show coming up in 30 minutes say it's a stupid game to play because he doesn't like dealing with the lower level of college football, which he will call Houston that. I have no problem with that. I think that's fair. Houston is a step below good SEC teams. I don't care if they're in the Big 12. That's not a Power 5 conference to me. But I would counter and say, you know what? You're going to come out. Maybe you'll be working on a new quarterback or a new offensive coordinator. I don't know what you're going to be at 2027. But you're probably going to come out there and beat Houston in the opener. And that's fine with me. Would I rather you play Houston in Tiger Stadium? Yeah. Do I get all jazzed up to play an NRG Stadium in Houston? No. Am I fine with it on the schedule because I don't think we're going to lose? Yeah. Would I be more willing to add big-time high-profile games because losing isn't that big a deal? Yeah. But I'll take this one too. We'll do a Citizens Bank poll question of the day. Your thoughts on scheduling Houston in the 2027 season opener? Very excited. Boring. Some sort of neutral answer, like what would it be? Fine. Those three. Very excited, boring, or fine. Got 35 minutes to get your answers in. I got a feeling that most of the LSU fan base will say, boring, I don't want to play it. Bring on USC, bring on Oklahoma, bring on, well, that's in our conference now, bring on Michigan, bring on Penn State. That's what the fans want, and I understand it. It's way more fun to play Virginia Tech in Tiger Stadium, to go to Austin, Texas, and play against Texas, to go to the Rose Bowl and play USC, to play the novelty game against Wisconsin in Lambeau Field, Florida State, even though I don't think anybody cares about Orlando, big-time game. Those are the ones the fans want, and I get it. It's way more fun to watch. I'm just risk-averse in college football because I know that if LSU takes the field and I don't know what the schedule looks like in 2027, but in the current way, that if you go take care of business against Auburn and Florida and A&M and Alabama and Arkansas, if you do that, it doesn't matter who you schedule in the non-conference. Yeah, awesome to go beat Oregon. Fantastic. If Oregon doesn't play that game, they might have a chance to win the national championship that year. Let me see what Oregon's record was in 2011. Pretty sure going to Dallas and playing that game under all the bright lights with the eyes of the nation watching you cost you. Yeah, it did. It cost you a chance at the national championship. Because if they don't play that game and they play some Nevada, which they played the next week, interestingly enough, and won 69-20. Perfect. They would have finished the season with a record of 11-1, champions of the Pac-12, and they'd have had their name right in the mix with Alabama or Oklahoma State. I don't know how the BCS would have worked it out, but you had a chance. You play LSU, you get dusted 40-27, you got no chance. There's always risk involved with those fun games. Look, I'm already ready to go to Orlando, and I'll be there. I hope to go to Las Vegas, and that'd be great. And they play USC in a couple years. I'm risk averse. Houston doesn't provide any risk, in my opinion. So, fine. Not exciting, but fine. LSU just wants to get to Houston. They just want to play in Houston, if they can. So, you've got to play a Power 5. That's the rule in the SEC. Houston's going to check that box in 2027. So we'll see the Tigers in Houston in 2027. Labor Day weekend in NRG Stadium. We'll see what you think about it in the Citizens Bank poll question of the day. All right, Sharif Ishak's going to join us here coming up. We're going to chat with Sharif about the 13-year anniversary of the Saints going to the Super Bowl. We're also going to talk with Sharif about the Pels, who are slipping a little bit, but maybe there's some help on the way. Sharif Ishak next on Palmer Show.
This is on Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications. The powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution. A network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before. Streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. the nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast that was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Quite grand, yet quiet and nimble. The Infinity QX80.
Experience the Infinity QX80 at your local Infinity retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that.
On Wednesday's OTP, did the Pelicans manage to finally get back on the right track? Did Brandon Ingram return on the first night of back-to-back? We will see. Plus, let's talk conference championship as the NFL Final Four set off the bench 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hope you're staying safe out there in Baton Rouge. I think the wind's about to pick up pretty significantly here over the next few hours. So you got to be out and about. Be very careful. If not, hang tight. Appreciate you hanging with us here on a Tuesday. We'll head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif Ishak from WDSU joins us. Sharif, how are you?
Well, I'm all right, I guess.
That's great to hear. I'm thrilled. Let's see. Let's cheer you up a little bit. At the end of hour number 1, we get 13th anniversary of Pigs Have Flown. Garrett Hartley sends the Saints to the Super Bowl, beating the Minnesota Vikings. Your memories of that day?
Yeah, I was actually at the game. I was in the immediate holding area down below, getting ready to do the interviews after the game, and me and Avery Johnson were standing next to each other as the kick went through, and I remember how he was celebrating and jumping up and down. So yeah, that's my memory. That was fun. You know, that was one of the cooler. You know what? Besides the Super Bowl, those were the two coolest things I've ever covered in my career. I don't know if I'm going to cover anything cooler than those two games and just how they went down. But yeah, I was in the bunker waiting for the game to end with Avery Johnson.
Do you remember it being a very excited New Orleans or a very nervous New Orleans about playing in the NFC Championship game for the second time in 3 years?
Oh no, it was a full-blown parade party, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was no nervousness. They knew that they were going to win that game. It just felt like they weren't losing. It was a team of destiny. There were no nerves at all. I remember going into that game, I was like, dude, there ain't no way the Saints are going to lose this game. They're going to win this game. And man, the party after, man, you couldn't drive around the city like literally the whole night. You pretty much were stuck downtown after the game, and it was just fun, man. I remember that every second of that night.
Yeah, that was. It was wild. I did not go down that night, but I certainly went down after the Super Bowl, and that was a scene down in New Orleans after that one ended. But you have the added benefit in that situation of the Saints actually playing the game in the Dome. So, 13 years ago today, Saints Pigs Have Flown. They go to the Super Bowl. Pels, the news on BI sounds like it's getting better. What are you taking from that?
I would say it's better than him being out. It's doubtful. Doubtful is better than out.
Yeah.
I would have to guess. I mean, after missing, 28 straight games, I don't think he'll play tonight. I mean, almost 29th straight game tonight. So I expect him to be back either tomorrow. That's the back-to-back. I don't know if it's like you want to go back-to-back. It's best to bring him maybe in tomorrow against Minnesota. And if not, I mean, he said he wanted to play yesterday in his homestand. If not, it'd be Saturday against the Wizards. But that's at least encouraging news after this, nasty 12-game stretch they've been on.
Anything that he said or the demeanor, the emotion that has stood out to you while he's answering questions about what has kind of drug on longer than anybody thought it would?
He has always been the same emotion, straight face, always has that little laugh. I mean, it doesn't change no matter the question you ask him. There's nothing different about anything whenever you ask him a question, whether or not it's like, hey, why have you been out so long for something that was day to day? He just says, hey, it just kept re-aggravating me, kept bothering me, and I thought I was getting closer, but, I would have a setback. I mean, he took every question that was asked away and didn't, show any different emotion on any question. But I can sense he's a little frustrated that he missed that many games, but he has to be back. He has to come back ASAP because his team is certainly struggling, and struggling might be an understatement.
Yeah, they're leaking oil right now. Is there anything outside of just their best two players aren't playing as to why they've been losing games?
Honestly, no. I mean, they're the best first half team I've ever seen without 2 stars.
Yep.
They hold these double-digit leads for the first half, and then, boom, they hit a wall, and they just run out of gas. I mean, CJ gets doubled, he gets blitzed, and he can only do so much. If the other guys aren't stepping up, they're getting destroyed in the second half of a game, and you've seen it during these last, since Zion went out, these last 12 games. It's just been ugly. I mean, there's no other way to say it. There's no scoring down the stretch. There's no reliable score down the stretch outside of CJ, and at that time, he's already gassed. There's only so much he can do. I mean, he's getting double teamed, and they're asking Trey or Herb or someone else to put up the scoring JV, but it's just not sustainable. It really isn't sustainable without their 2 stars.
For sure, and we know the Stars are going to have to come back, one, to put them in position to make the playoffs and get a reasonable seed, two, if they're going to do anything when the playoffs come around, those guys are going to have to be there. We thought maybe the silver lining with B.I. and Zion out and Herb out the time that he was, maybe you allow some other guys to get some minutes and create a little bit more depth. You've reached the law of diminishing returns there. You need those guys back because you don't care about the depth that much. But do you think they've added a couple of pieces that can give you some minutes in crunch time?
I would love to tell you yes, but I have not seen anyone step up consistently. I mean, Devontae Graham is getting to the point where he's unplayable. I mean, he's not making his shots consistently, and I thought I'd see a little bit more from Trey. One game you see him, knock down his shots. Other games you see him hesitant to shoot the shot, that they brought him in for, the 25-foot to 30-foot shot when he's wide open. He'll hesitate. He's good at driving it and dunking it, but I thought I'd see more. Herb is struggling. He's not notorious. He's not supposed to be a great three-point shooter. If you get him around 30, 32%, that would be great. He's in low 20s right now.
Yeah.
I thought I'd see a little bit more, but he's a great slasher, a great defender, and that's awesome. But they have to find some shooting, man. Jose is certainly still the spark off the bench, but you can only do so much with that. But I thought they're deep whenever their stars are there. It's better whenever they have the 2 stars and you can see the depth. But without those 2 guys, I just haven't found anyone. I really haven't found anyone that I'm like, oh, all right. It's valuable minutes for, when they get closer to the playoffs. But right now it isn't panning out like I thought it would with some of these guys off the bench.
You think Sean Payton's a head coach somewhere by the time we talk next week?
Man, the longer this goes, I'm starting to feel like he might be back on set with Fox.
Yeah.
I read Jeff Duncan's article. I saw Albert Breer say what he said. The longer it goes, it looks like he'll go back to Fox. I just don't think he's going to settle. He's going to settle for a situation. He wants to make sure that, doesn't drain the entire draft pick situation with that team and has to have the right quarterback. I think his true spot, the spot that he really wants and thinks is perfect, Los Angeles Chargers. And I don't blame him because all the weapons and the quarterback are there. And he has a good defense. Does he really want to settle for Denver? And maybe he does. Houston, you want to rebuild? He's not a rebuilding type of coach. So, I wouldn't be shocked. Now, hear me out. Something crazy could happen next offseason if the Saints have a bad year and he's still sitting on that set. Maybe they reach back out to him. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that could happen. But, look, you never know, man. If he sits out a season again, man, you start to wonder if that happens and he wants to come back. Maybe that happens. I'm just throwing that out there.
When we think about interviewing coaches, you think of coaches showing up because they want the job and trying to get the job. In this sense, I feel like it's flipped in that they're trying to interview Sean Payton, I use air quotes, to recruit him to be their head coach. Is that the way that you sense that these places are operating?
Yeah, they are. They're recruiting him. They're just saying, hey, we have the best pieces here. Why don't you come here? We won't offload as many picks to the Saints for you to come here. And, if we do, we already have the veteran pieces to win. We're trying not to. That's what it is. It's essentially like a 5-star recruit. You're trying to pitch for him to come to your organization and say, hey, we are ready to win now. Sean isn't trying to go to an organization where they're far off. Now, Carolina to me is still the sleeper, and I know they're in the NFC South. I think they'd be willing to give up that 9th overall pick because he can just bring in another quarterback. What if he tells Tom Brady, hey, come join me in Carolina, or he gets Jimmy G or somebody? He'll find a quarterback. And I feel like they have some solid pieces. They'll figure it out in free agency as well. He likes David Tepper, the owner. So, that's the sleeper to me. You never know, but that would sting a lot to face him twice a year, knowing how great he is as an offensive mastermind.
Any confidence in the Pels tonight?
I do.
Oh.
For once, I think they can win this game. I know Joker's questionable, which means he's going to
probably
play.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's questionable. So, he's dealing with a wrist issue. He didn't play Sunday against OKC, and and they lost only by 2 points. So, and that was at home. So, I wouldn't be shocked if the Pelicans somehow rebound, get us, a little extra gas here, a little extra motivation, 3-game homestand after struggling in the last 9 games. Essentially, they played 7 of 8 on the road.
Yeah.
That's tough. So, yeah, I feel better about him tonight and during this homestand, even though it's a back-to-back, but I feel good.
We'll talk about it next week. Thanks, Sharif.
All right, man. Anytime.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU Pels, welcoming in the Nuggets tonight to the Blender. Looks like it's going to be a lot of star power potentially on the bench for that game as the Pels still without B.I. and Zion. We'll see if Joker's able to go tonight for Denver. We'll come back, close it out. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
You ever heard the tale of the misunderstood bull? A menacing beast who was born to float. A force of nature. The embodiment of grace. Infiniti QX80.
Experience the Infiniti QX80 at your local Infiniti retailer.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Championship Sunday in the NFL playoffs. Tune in Sunday at 2 p.m. when the Eagles host the 49ers for the NFC Championship. Then the Chiefs host the Bengals at 5:30 for the AFC Championship. Right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Citizens Bank poll question of the day, each and every day here on all our shows. Today, we threw ours out after the announcement that LSU just made. They will be opening the 2027 season Labor Day weekend against the University of Houston in NRG Stadium. So, said, what's your thoughts on LSU scheduling Houston for the 2027 opener? Options were very excited, fine, and boring. Actually, I thought boring was going to sweep the day here, but I guess it's football, it's the opener. Maybe it's a trip for some people, maybe it's a home game for some other people. So fine actually won. 56% say that it's fine, 42% say boring, and 3% very excited for the Tigers and Cougars in 2027. So not exactly what I thought. I thought most would say boring, but a little trip to watch LSU football. That tends to excite people a little bit more than I would have anticipated. So let's play some Take It or Leave It to finish things up. Taylor Sharp.
Yeah, let's do it. Sports Business Journal is reporting that Live Golf is going to have a hard time getting partners, the CW, to air its tournaments live on Fridays because, quote, affiliates have a lucrative business model that centers around shows like the People's Court, Judge Mathis, Jerry Springer, and we cannot forget Maury, that they will not cede to golf. Take it or leave it.
They won't put the golf tournament on because they got to get Maury and Jerry Springer aired.
Look, Maury is a good show.
We got to figure out who the dad is, who it's not. We got to get into a brawl over custody on the Jerry Springer show. We cannot show Cam Smith and Bryson DeChambeau playing at some golf course no one's ever heard of. Look, that's fine with me. That's great. It shows how pathetic their partnership is with the CW. It shows how pathetic their advancement is at this point. It's a joke of a league. It's been a joke of a league the entire time. I'm going to make fun of it any chance I can, and I'm never going to watch any of it. So that's the way I feel about Live Golf. You're going to tell me they can't be on TV on Friday and they got to be relegated to the app because they got to watch Judge Mathis instead of the golf tournament. That shows you about where you are in the pecking order. So I love it. It should be humiliating to them. It makes me laugh. It's embarrassing for them. I despise Live. Next.
Here's a little LSU flair for you. Former Tiger and NFL Hall of Famer Kevin Mawai has been named the head coach at Lipscomb Academy, a high school in Nashville. Mawai will be an NFL head coach one day. Take it or leave it.
Ooh, I think he would like to be. I'll leave it for right now. It's really hard to be an NFL coach. There's only 32 of those gigs. But he's paying his dues. He's been an offensive analyst. He went out west and into the Pac-12. He's done some work in the NFL the last couple of years. And now he's taken over at Lipscomb Academy, which is where Trent Dilfer was. And he was coaching there in Nashville. And then Trent Dilfer now took the head job at UAB. Mawai obviously played for the Titans, has some roots in Nashville. So this is a great thing for him. Kevin's such a great guy, has been great to us on this station. Obviously a Hall of Famer now, and so that's an awesome opportunity for him. I don't know anything about Lipscomb Academy and how good they are at football. I know it's in Nashville, which is a great place to live, and I know that Kevin wants to be a coach. So this is, if he feels like this is the best move for him, I'm pumped for him. I think it's going to be tough to be an NFL head coach, but I'm not going to rule it out. He's pretty young, and he knows football for sure.
Angels owner Art Marino announced Monday that his family has stopped the exploratory phase of selling the franchise. Mike Trout will never play another playoff game, take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. I think he's got a chance to. That's a little harsh on the Moreno family. Look, I criticize owners if things are super dysfunctional or if you refuse to spend money. Like, if you're the owner of the Pirates, you should sell the team. You never pay anybody. You never try to win. And you never win because of that. You can't say that about the Moreno family. They paid Albert Pujols. They paid Mike Trout. They went and put the posting fee up and paid and got Ohtani. They got Anthony Rendon. Like, they haven't done enough pitching-wise, and they're a little bit dysfunctional in that way. They went and got Joe Madden as their manager. So their general manager needs to do a little bit better job, but I have a hard time criticizing the Moreno family when you have invested that much into your talent pool. They just haven't made very good baseball decisions. So weird pivot that they said they were going to explore and sell it, and they're like, we're good, but here we are.
Here's one I never thought we'd have on Take It or Leave It. Kylie Jenner had a black dress on with a full-size lion head on her left shoulder. Full-size tiger heads worn at the box this spring. Take it or leave it.
Have you seen this? It showed up on my Twitter feed. I'm not exaggerating at all. She had on like a standard black dress at this fashion show, and then her right shoulder, maybe her left shoulder, one of her shoulders, there was a full-size lion head as like as an what's the word I'm looking for? An accessory to her dress. I'm gonna leave having full-size tiger heads on your arm at the box, but it feels like we may be headed to that. If there's one thing that I don't get in the world, it is fashion. It appears to me that all the fashion people decide what is the thing that isn't really clothing or that no one would ever wear, and then if you put that on, it becomes cool. Look at this picture. It's a full-size lion head on her. You couldn't even eat dinner with that. You couldn't reach around and get anything into your mouth.
She reminds me of the king on Coming to America. He had the lion over his shoulder.
That movie, that's one of the ones they made me watch during the pandemic when I was doing a movie report.
Good movie.
I didn't love Coming to America. I liked the barbershop scenes. I didn't like really anything else in the movie. But the lion head, I'm going to have to leave that. Sorry, Kylie.
All right, last one. Josh Heupel received a contract extension, making him one of the 10 highest-paid coaches in the NCAA. Heupel will win a national title at Tennessee. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that too. I'm not being very ambitious today. I'm leaving it on Mawai, leaving it on Trout. I think he'll play in a. I'm not being very ambitious, but he could. I like their system. Let's see it year 2 without Hooker. We'll see if it's Milton or if it's the 5-star. I don't think my Tennessee days, as far as pulling for them, are very much longer. Maybe they will be if they're still in the same division as Alabama, but it's been a pretty tough 15-year go for trying to pull for Tennessee. It appears that now they finally get a guy that might be able to put this thing in place, and the whole schedule flips on its head, and I may not have to worry about it as far as the East and West goes. But he's doing a good job. I think he's earned a huge paycheck. I think Tennessee finally, after years and years of toiling in anonymity, is maybe on the right track. But predicting a national championship is tough. It's tough to win those things. We're a little spoiled around here because we've done it a little more often than most would. All right, that'll do it for a Tuesday edition here. Again, want to remind you, we'll be out at Pluckers Sports Trivia tonight, 8:30, Nicholson location. Going out, watch the second half of LSU in Arkansas, and then we'll crank up trivia at about 8:30. We'll have you out of there by 10 o'clock. Get a team together, 4, 5, 6 of y'all. Come on out. It's a lot of fun. We give out prizes for each round. There are 5 rounds. We give out a best team name prize. Plus, there's a lot of great basketball, and it's always a good time. Plucker Sports Trivia tonight at 8:30. We'll be out there hanging out. I didn't realize. I just looked at the line for LSU in Arkansas, 12.5. I know that LSU's getting boat raced all the time, and it's a road game, but Arkansas has been pretty pedestrian. I mean, you look at the games they've played. Beat Ole Miss by 12. Ole Miss is brutal. Their other win was against Missouri at home. They won that game by 6. we'll see. So hopefully LSU can stay within 12. We'll be reacting to it on tomorrow's show. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. You can find my name right there. All the show is archived each and every day there. Also find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. Those of y'all hanging out on the Bayou Ford YouTube chat, throw us a like if you would on the way out. Open the show talking about the stability that LSU's got on this football coaching staff, which I think is a real positive for them right now. I previewed the Arkansas Razorbacks at 1:15 before we chatted with Glenn West on all things basketball, baseball, football. Enjoyed our chat with Glenn of 247. 13 years since the Saints won the NFC. We reacted to that on an anniversary at the end of hour number 1. Andrew Hutchison of Northwest Arkansas Sports joined us at 2:30 to preview the Hogs. Then we'll talk about LSU and Houston on the schedule coming up in 2027. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's 1 to 3 every single weekday right here on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.